I'm Keita Rich. I am 24. Yeah, 24. And I'm a Pisces, and I'm a landscape architect. Originally, I wanted to go into environmental science, but I did not have the math grades to get into the college that I wanted. So they sent me a bunch of different majors that I could get into, and landscape architecture was one of them. And as I did more research, it was like the perfect combination between science and art. So it ended up working out. 5 years later, I'm here. I think what solidified me being in this profession was Peter Lax. He is a landscape architect who turns industrial waste sites into public parks. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. Like, I wish that more people were adamant about using space that is already there for the public use. And there's a TV show that I fell in love with. It's called Raising Dion. It's about like a young black boy who finds out that he has like superpowers, but like the entire show talks about like disability rights and like consent around disabilities. It talks about grief and all these like really important things for all children to fully understand. Like, I feel like a lot of parents think that these are like huge concepts that children can't grasp, but if a child is old enough to ask, they are old enough to know. Accessibility is always an afterthought, but when you are designing, like, it should be on the forefront of your mind. It should be the first thing that you think about. Like, how is someone who doesn't move the same way that I do going to move through this landscape, like, freely and safely? I do not understand why you would design something and make it like difficult for a specific group of people not to be able to experience your artwork, and it's meant to be public artwork. Every child deserves the right to play, and I think it's, as a designer, like, I don't understand why you would design a public space and actively exclude someone. If your design was really that good, you would want everyone to be able to experience it, appreciate it, and like fall in love with it. And then also, like, as a designer, you have no right to assign value to your designs. It's the public that does that. So if your work was really that good, everyone would want to go there. I'm really into accessible swings and how they move, because like that's not a sensation that you would be able to feel on the street. And just being able to like play with sensory, I think is really interesting and fun. My end goal is to eventually move to Norway and like start my own firm. In Europe, the playground laws are a lot more lax. Not to get like all geeky into playground history, but in the 1920s, they would basically just put like concrete slabs on the ground and like just erect these huge metal poles, and children would just like hang off of them, swing, like do whatever the heck they wanted. And the injury rates were practically the same as they are now, because if you don't allow children to explore and utilize their imagination on a playscape, they're going to do stupid shit. Like, they're going to hurt themselves. So like all the rubber mats, all the like safety protocols that we have, like they don't do anything, because children are now just set into one way of thinking and moving through a landscape, when the playground is supposed to be the complete opposite. It's meant to like provoke them, make them think, like use whatever they want as they want. That's why like the best playgrounds that you could ever build is just putting a bunch of cardboard boxes out and letting children build their own palace or whatever imaginary world they want to be in that day. I'm working at a firm right now that I'm like really proud of, and the work I'm doing is like really important to me. Like, I never want to go into residential design. I think it's boring, and I don't want to design for rich people. Like, that's not me. The designs I put out, I want to make sure that they are positively impacting the community that I'm designing for. And like, I know that not every time that I'm going to get it right, but I would want to rectify the situation if I didn't. But also, like, it's a group effort. A lot of people within my own like design community. They say that they care about accessibility, but they don't. It's always an after fact or like an afterthought. And like ADA regulations is the bare fucking minimum. Like that really pisses me off, and part of my language, but like that was made in the 90s and it was just it was the bare minimum. Like half of the time there are loopholes, like historical sites, they don't have to be accessible because as long as you can get into the building and have the essence of the historical site, you are able to experience it even though you're not able to move. Like these are things that designers think are acceptable, and I don't think it's acceptable.
Do you feel like you're good at what you do?
I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm still new, and like I'm just still trying to get my foot into the professional door. I feel like I'm good at advocating for people, and I always try to make sure that I amplify voices that aren't being heard, and that's like my main goal out of all of this, is to make sure that my people are taken care of, other people are taken care of, because one day like I'm gonna need to be taken care of, and like I hope someone is kind enough or gentle enough to do that for me. Like we should all be doing that for each other, but it seems like the world doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.